Fatty and the little boy were about to pee when they were suddenly cut off by the scene in front of them. They saw the Japs' fighter plane, like a caterpillar, flying over the valley and then heading for Pearl Harbor. A new attack on history was about to begin. After the fighter plane left the valley, it quickly landed at a height of 5 meters. Even though it was at the limit of the fighter plane's performance, the Japs were still biting their teeth, just to avoid the radar detection. Soon, the fighter plane's formation began to fly into the harbor area. At that time, most of the American soldiers were still in a deep sleep. The rest of the people who saw the fighter plane thought that their air force was acting because they had never heard of the air defense alarm. The Japs threw the first torpedo. In the next second, the whirlpool of fate turned quickly, relying on the wild ambition, and rushed in. Then, more and more torpedoes were thrown into the water, and the bullets were flying. At that moment, the American soldiers finally realized that this was not an act. The Japs were in a mess in the shipwreck. Heavy soldiers and bombers were swimming out of the deck. However, the Japs would never leave them a chance to escape. At that time, the level of the bomber formation had climbed to a height of 3,000 meters. One of the bombers quickly locked his target, the Arizona, and then decided to throw a 950-kilogram special armored bullet. The Arizona is not only the strongest warship of the U.S. Navy, but also the core symbol of the Pacific Fleet's deterrence. The Japs had long had a regret for this ship. Soon, the armored bullet precisely landed on the right side of the ship and penetrated through the ammunition depot on the 3rd floor of the deck. According to the damage report, after the U.S. military battle, there were 1,400 shells and 19 tons of gunpowder in the ammunition depot. After the armored bullet launched, a chain of explosions occurred. In just a few minutes, the Arizona sank into the sea. 1,177 soldiers and officers were wounded. Only a puppy was left on the ship, and he was able to survive on the shore. Next, the Japs' attack aircraft formation immediately entered the U.S.-led fleet's docking area and was ready to carry out a counterattack. At the same time, another attack aircraft formation quickly approached the airport. As long as the U.S. military loses the air defense barrier of the destroyer and the fighter, everything in Pearl Harbor will be completely surrounded by the Japs. The West Virginia shipyard, which realized this tactical intention, quickly rushed to the shipyard to prepare for the command battle, and the Japs' terrible firepower outside the window shocked him with a blink of an eye. Then, like a storm, the bullet crazy shot into the shipyard. After all, he was an old military officer on the battlefield, and he had no courage at all. He came to the deck to organize a counterattack, but as soon as he picked up the phone, he suddenly heard a scary sound. The Japs' attack aircraft formation immediately entered the U.S.-led fleet's docking area and was ready to carry out a counterattack. At this moment, the Japs' firepower was like a machine gun, and it was getting fiercer and fiercer. In just a few minutes, all 3 main destroyers were fired at. The officers and soldiers on the ship were completely collapsed in the explosion and fire, just like a group of people who had been watered by wastewater. They were running for